Welcome to Public Report. I'm Marcel Camille. Today we're going to take a look at teenage girl relationships. We have an expert in-house today, Gina Guddat, and she's an author and a lecturer of Fit Decisions. So she goes around the country speaking specifically about teen girl issues. Welcome to the program, Gina.
Thank you.
You know, I just recently came across an article that spoke about teenage pregnancies, how they've been on the decline for the past 15 years, but currently they're on the rise. Can you tell us a little bit about how this could be?
Right. Well, I believe it's 1 million pregnancies a year right now in the teenage populace. So we are on the rise a bit. And I think there's always been an issue over time. We've always seen this be an issue. Some of the changes are that more girls are deciding to keep their babies. And so we have, you know, a lot of counseling issues sort of wrapped around that as well. But it's sad, really, that girls have to be moms when they're still girls themselves. You know, they have babies and they're babies. So that is what is worrisome to me, is not having the chance to grow up and develop who they really are. So, and it's a huge issue for the families and how they're going to deal with that.
You know, recently, something that hit the news locally, which just amazed me. The youngest father, 13 years old. Why start so early with sexual activity? I mean, we've got babies, as they say, having babies.
Yeah, we're a very sexualized culture. We really are. And you remember many hours a week are spent on MySpace, on YouTube, MTV, and not to blame the media, but generally so many of our songs, the hits that are hitting, you know, that are on the top 10, the movies that are making, I mean, they're very sexualized. And our fashion is as well. So when you have the music, the movies, the advertising, the TV, and the fashion all in going in that direction, it's really not a wonder why we're seeing these kids get involved so early.
Okay, well, you know, once you open that door, we've got the possibility of disease.
Right.
What are you seeing as far as STDs and that sort of thing amongst our teenage girls?
That's where I get the most questions. STDs actually are now STIs. To be politically correct, so sexually transmitted infections. And they're numerous, and of course, as you know, many there is no cure for, so when you have it for life. The statistics are they're shocking. So our teenage populace is about 10% of our entire nation are teenagers, but they own 25% of the STDs. So we're talking 1 in 4 of our teenagers have a sexually transmitted disease. And HPV obviously gets a lot of press and news time, and kind of controversial, the new immunizations we have with that as well. But we see that when a girl gets to college age, 60 or over 60% of our girls have HPV.
What exactly is HPV?
Human papillomavirus, lay terms, genital warts, and the thing about HPV, and this is why it has been such a riveting issue to watch, is that cervical cancer, which we know, women can have cervical cancer. 99% of cervical cancer is caused by HPV.
Oh, my.
We've never known that. So great-great-grandma Lucy, who died of cervical cancer, of course, no one knew anything about or talked about STIs back then, but now we know. It was likely caused by HPV. So, and I also have to mention that there's not a test for men to be tested for HPV. So I've had college girls say, you know, before I date him or we become intimate or we get involved, I make sure he goes and he is fully tested.
Yes.
Well, I think that's very responsible. However, they will come up and show if they have herpes and gonorrhea and syphilis, HIV. There is not a test for HPV. Many men have it and they're asymptomatic and they don't know a thing, but they will pass it on to the female who, you know, could die of cervical cancer. So that is why when this HPV shots came out, it's quite a big deal. And of course, they've only approved it through age 19. And then after that, so women, you know, later in life, or, you know, we've got a lot of middle-aged women that may think of remarrying, and, you know, it's an issue. It's a big issue in the health arena.
What do you suggest as an expert in the field that we do that could actually lower those numbers?
Education, I think we did a really good job having girls understand, even from the 1950s, you know, if you have an intimate relationship, you could get pregnant. I think that message got clear. What did not get through clearly is if you sleep with someone, you could have a life-threatening STD. And I think more education on that front, and to know that they're not all curable. Herpes is reaching epidemic levels. I had a physician tell me at Seattle, University of Washington, Seattle, a physician that in their best estimation, 60% of Seattle has herpes.
Oh, my.
And so that takes some education on how, you know, not all of them are curable. And, you know, teenagers, they think you just take a pill and you'll all be fine and some medicine will cure it. So there's some lasting consequences, and they need to know about that.
Okay. There's something else that's come about with our new technology. It's called sexting. It's actually sending text messages through your phone that are partially nude or all nude of yourself or a friend. And actually, some of our youth under the age of 18 are up for felony charges in reference to this, and pornography charges, and also creating pornography charges. It's all over the news. Can you share a little bit about this?
Yeah, and it is shocking, but I see it frequently. And it used to be something hidden in the dark, phone sex and all of that, and then we started seeing the internet getting involved in internet affairs. But teenagers are very good. They're the best texters. They brought it into the culture, and then the mom and dads came through, you know, slowly on board with that. But sex texting and the pictures, and for girls, it's interesting when I talk to them because they like the control. Mm-hmm. They feel that they have the upper hand on these men, and unfortunately sometimes these are not maybe even people they know. These could be complete strangers, and that can be dangerous. We can get stalkers, and there's all kinds of obviously legal issues that can happen, and for their own safety they've got to be careful. But this is something that we're going to see more and more of.
Oh, my. Disturbing article spoke of a young man. He was over the age of 18. He had really teenage people send him pictures of themselves. And then he blackmailed them. He was going to put them on the internet. Mm-hmm. And if they didn't meet his friend somewhere, and his friend just happened to be him, and he had posed as a woman through the messaging. So they had to do sexual favors for him. And he's up for up to 300 years in prison because he's actually violated some of our youth.
And